Hello my friends, welcome back to Garhdo Goes Geek. Today's episode is a sneak preview of sorts. I'm going to be doing a review for you on the recently released Power Rangers Cosmic Fury, a series that has been released for the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers. I have got a big Power Rangers episode planned. I did want to release it, obviously, for the anniversary of Power Rangers, 30th anniversary year of Power Rangers back in August. However, obviously, because of the ongoing strikes, fortunately the Writers Guild of America strike seems to be coming to a close. The deal seems to have been ratified there. However, Screen Actors Guild is still striking against the Motion Picture Association and may soon start striking against the video game industry. So, as a result, the kind of content blackout here might persist for a bit longer. However, I was going to... The goal would be for the Power Rangers episode to be out by now, and then the Cosmic Fury episode could come out afterwards. As it is, this section that I'm going to present to you, my review and discussion for Cosmic Fury, which will work as sort of the content of the review, is also going to be in the final episode when that does release. But I thought I'd release it now as sort of a quick look, so that if anyone is interested on my thoughts on it and what I thought about this new show, they can enjoy them here. So, strap in and I'll discuss Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. So, Power Rangers Cosmic Fury debuted at the end of September. It is very different to a lot of these existing Power Rangers series, being that it's a completely Western creation, so making it more similar to things like the Turbo Power Rangers movie, and the other two movies, where everything has been made in the West, in this case in New Zealand, which is where Power Rangers was until recently filmed by Hasbro. This episode does seem to be the last of Power Rangers in its current form. A lot of things are changing. We have no announcements on what the next series is going to be, only that it's going to be a reboot of sorts. It's going to be completely done in the West. It's not going to be using Sentai footage. But at the same time, they are moving out of New Zealand, which is where the production was originally shifted by Disney when they bought Power Rangers for Ninja Storm. So they've been filming over there for about 20 years now. But yeah, no, this is the last series set in New Zealand. It's also shorter. It's only 10 episodes long. And these 10 episodes take on a more serialized story. There's not as much of the usual Power Ranger filler as there is in previous seasons. Everything seems to be part of the ongoing plot. Even the episodes that you could most point to and say, well, that's the sort of the Power Rangers, standard Power Rangers fare, like episode 5, which is called Rock Out. That still contributes overall to the ongoing plot. It introduces a new Zord. There's a lot of other changes, a lot of nice character moments, character beats. So yeah, the actual plot itself, it picks up almost directly after the end of Power Rangers Dino Fury, with the team of Rangers, with Zato having returned to them, going off into space to hunt down and fight Lord Zedd. The opening battle takes place on a planet of Zordnia, which has never been mentioned before by name, but is apparently the same planet where the Shogun Zords were found back in Season 3 of Mighty Morphin. Also, this Cosmic Fury, by the way, is the first series since Mighty Morphin that's had the same cast for 3 consecutive years. So there is that as well. Billy also appears in this as Mighty Morphin Blue. He is on the planet with Mick. They were doing some archaeology work. They were looking for the altar of Zordnia. And they get caught up in the battle as it ensues. The battle involves the monsters of Squid Inc., which is a company led by Bajillionaire and her daughter Squillia. So, yes, Power Rangers is woke, kids. Power Rangers has always been woke. They have teamed up with Lord Zedd. They are using him. They are hunting the Morphin Masters. The Morphin Masters are involved in this battle as well. And so you have our Rangers and the Morphin Masters fighting the monsters under Bajilia and Lord Zedd when Scrozzle arrives and uses a device he has built to capture the Morphing Masters. Before they get captured, though, Morphin Master Red does actually give Mick his powers back, so Mick is now able to morph as well. The team flee and kind of teleport across the planet. They end up with one of the Mighty Morphins, the Morphin Master staffs, but I believe they've also lost their powers. No, they haven't. They do still have their powers at this point. Yeah, they do. But they are weaker without the Morphin Masters, and obviously they have no Zords or anything like that. They find the Altar of Zordnia, which gives them access to the Cosmic Zords, which they are able to use to fight Squid Inc. and Lord Zedd's forces. Now, in actually accessing the Zords, they put the Morphing Master staff into the altar. Specifically, Harvey does it. And when he does it, it disintegrates his arm. So Harvey loses his arm, which is big and dramatic, a very dramatic moment. And that's something that does carry on and sort of give him an ongoing arc, because he has to deal with that. He gets given a cybernetic replacement quite quickly, which is created by Solon. But he has lost an arm, and this is why his arm always had that armored look in all the pre-release photos. So yeah, it's a nice touch. As the series goes on, they end up back at Earth. They end up with in the base with Fern and Billy, and the base is then teleported across the universe when it comes under attack by Lord Zedd. So Dino Henge is gone. At this point, when Lord Zedd arrives to attack Dino Henge, he also destroys the power statues, the statues of the dinosaurs that give them their powers, which cuts them off from their Dino Fury powers, with the exception of one, and that is Ollie, because in the first episode, as part of the initial battle, one of the Squid Inc. monsters, Doodrip, releases a special slime that he's got, which is able to sort of mind control Ollie. So Ollie ends up joining the villains, and so obviously he keeps his statue, keeps his Dino Fury powers, but gets given a brand new suit as well, courtesy of Scrozzle, as well as new weapons. So he becomes a main ongoing antagonist. And I think he does really well. Like the actor playing him, Kai Moya, does a really good job at portraying this evil ranger, especially because a lot of the time he's acting against monsters who aren't expressive at all. And, it does... The love story between him and Amelia becomes really strained as a result. And that's maybe not always acted the best by the two of them. And it is resolved quite quickly in the season finale. But it's not bad. Billy helps them create new powers, and he comes up with something called the Master Orb. The Cosmic Orbs, using the powers of the Morphin Master Staff. Zato's also gone missing at this point as well. I've forgotten exactly what happened to Zato at the start, but yeah, Zato's missing and separated from the team. But the Cosmic Orbs give Amelia, Ion, Izzy, and Harvey new powers. And the most significant change is that Amelia becomes the Red Ranger, which they describe as her being assigned that power by the Morphin Grid. And I like that, because by the time this happens, which is in like episode 3, where they first morph into their Cosmic Fury suits, Amelia has emerged quite quite clearly as the leader. Um, you know, Harvey's been wounded. Ollie is evil. Zato is off the board. Ion's still worried about Ollie. Not Ollie, sorry, Zato. And while Amelia is very worried about Ollie, she immediately emerges into a leadership role. She takes command. She realizes what their situation is, how to try and resolve it. So it fits that she becomes the Red Ranger, and she's very good at it. I think she's a very good Ranger. The Cosmic Fury suits look very different to things we've seen before. They were created in the West. So they use the Dino Fury helmets and have like muscle padding and more sort of like armor elements. Like they've got like an armored collar kind of thing. But I don't hate them. I think they look good. A lot of people really sort of kicked off about their pre-release looks, but they look very good in action. And I think they work very, very well. The monster suits is something I've also seen criticized, especially characters like Bajilia and Squillia, who have faces, but their faces are static. They don't move. And it's like, that's always been a thing with Power Rangers. There's very few Power Rangers monsters who actually have animatronic faces. And the ones that do are usually only in the Sentai footage. So when they appear in the West, the Sentai footage either, we either cast a Western character to take on the main villain role, or we don't use them at all. We we don't acknowledge the fact that the faces don't move. They work in the same way as the Rangers do when they're morphed. They're just a face that the character has. I've seen people complaining about this with Bajilia and Squillia, but not with, say, Scrozzle or Doodrip or Lord Zedd. It just seems negative that a negative that's being used against some characters, not all of them. When this is something that's been a part of Sentai and Power Rangers for a very long time. Regarding the Sentai, this series does use footage from Uchu Sentai Q Ranger, which was a space set series. Now, Q Ranger is a series that I'm actually quite sad is not getting a full Power Rangers adaptation. And I've been sad about that for a while, so I've kind of dealt with it. Because it's one that I think would work really well in the West, especially for the Ranger designs. The Ranger designs in Q Ranger are armored looks, and each of the characters has their own unique element of that look. So, for example, they take their powers based on constellations, and a lot of them are alien or android. So, for example, the Black Ranger is a large, muscle-bound, bull-like android. So his morphed form has horns and lots of muscle padding and is quite large. The blue one is a wolf alien who morphs using the Lupus constellation. So he has fur on his suit. The orange one is based on the Scorpio constellation, and he himself as an alien race has a tail. He has a scorpion tail, and things like that. And it's, there's nice touches that make them very unique. I think on the YouTube version of this episode, I'll have to put up a picture of the Q Ranger suit designs because they are very good. Q Ranger, Q stands for 9, so there are actually 9 Rangers in the core Q Ranger team, and then it expands to 12 with the extra Rangers that they gain throughout the series, including a Child Ranger. And so that's probably one aspect that people kind of, I don't know, maybe had issues with when it came to adapting it, is that it's quite a large cast. So I can see why they didn't. But then at the same time, there are like 8 Rangers in this series. Probably more than that, actually. Because there's the main... There's the main 6 Dino Fury Rangers. Fern becomes a ranger in this series. She joins the Cosmic Fury team and becomes their Orange Ranger, first Orange Ranger in canon. So 7 members of the Cosmic Fury team, which all have new suits, because obviously they get Ollie back. I'm not spoiling anything that hasn't been released in like press photos. Ollie becomes an enemy, but they do get him back. And so obviously he becomes Cosmic Fury Blue. So 7 Cosmic Fury Rangers, plus Billy, plus Mick, and Heckle. Heckle comes back. And it's like, if you count the new Cosmic Fury suits, plus the, the dark blue blue Dino Fury suit, they've already created like 8 new suits for this show. So they've already kind of used the Rangers that they could have used elsewhere. Never mind. Personally, they don't use a lot of footage from Q Ranger. I've seen quite a bit of Q Ranger. It's not a series I've finished, but it's one that I did really like, so I have seen quite a lot of it. And most of the footage they use comes from the very early episodes, sort of the first 15 episodes. And it's mainly just footage of the Zords themselves, the Zords and the Megazord. There's nothing else really. There's a couple of the monster designs from Q Ranger that appear, and a couple of monsters from other Sentai series as well. Like there's 2 suits that are reused from Zyuohger, which was the series before Q Ranger. So that's pretty cool. It's nice to see them. Although, again, I've seen a lot of Sentai purists. Oh, look what they did to this character. It's like, it's not the same character. It's not even a counterpart of the character. It's completely different. Stop overanalyzing it. There's a lot of purism, in the Sentai and Ranger fandoms, and some of it I'm quite sick of, to be completely honest. But yeah, the series is entertaining enough. It picks up a lot of plot elements from Dino Fury. There's a lot of returning characters from Dino Fury, including Jane Fairview, Jay Borg, Tarek, Pops even comes back. Pops. Tarek's wife, I've forgotten her name, Void Queen. She doesn't return, which is a shame. Although they do reveal that she's had her baby, which is quite lovely. But yeah, we get to see a lot of characters come back. And this is besides Zedd. Zedd also has a new voice in this, and the new voice is much more similar to Robert Axelrod's old voice as Lord Zedd. But apparently the reason why they changed the voice was because of the bullying that the original voice artist, I think it was Campbell Cooley, got while playing Lord Zedd, and I don't think that's fair. He wasn't a bad Zedd. He just didn't sound much like Robert Axelrod. That's fine. It's been 30 years and Robert Axelrod is unfortunately no longer with us. There's no need to be horrible about it. But yeah, I like this series. And I especially like the ties to continuity. Now, ties for continuity is something that Power Rangers, especially over the last few years, and especially under Hasbro with Beast Morphers and Dino Fury, has done really well, like tying back to all these old plot elements. And there are quite a lot of those in this. There are connections, obviously, to Mighty Morphin and Dino Fury, but there's also drops, lots of line drops that reference other things. That obviously Heckle returns from Dino Charge. They do acknowledge that he's from another dimension. Mick from Ninja Steel, obviously there's references there as well. But there's also references to SPD, because SPD is still set in the future. It's set in 2025, so it's set after this show. And just like with Once a Ranger, with its SPA that we saw Adam and Aisha working for, there's groundwork being laid showing that SPD will come in the future. It is due to happen. They reference New Tech City, and they reference specifically what's happening in New Tech City, with aliens arriving. Yeah, it's very good. The conclusion's quite good. There's a lot of quite interesting moments, quite a few twists in the storyline, which were a lot of fun. The character work as well is really good. Izzy and Fern have some great moments with their relationship. Fern gets some really nice development here, as well as she sort of becomes part of the team. Yes, she does morph quite late, for the first time, but she fits a nice role in the team before then. A nice role in sort of the group dynamic. Um, being part of the team, being kind of stranded in space with the rest of them. Amelia, like I said, is a great leader. Ion and Zato, I can't be the only one who ships that. In fact, if anything, this whole Power Rangers team feels like they'd make a really good kind of like polycule. You know how sort of like with Scooby Doo, where people are like, oh yeah, they're all into each other. Like, I'm really feeling that with this group of Power Rangers. There is such a connection between all of the cast, and all of the characters, that it really does feel like they all very genuinely care about each other, which is something that I think has been missing from some teams in Power Rangers. And if this is the last of what Power Rangers is due to be for a long time, I'm really quite glad it ended with a cast that is so strong. Um, because, yeah, they work really well together. Really, really well together. Um, like, I can feel the care and camaraderie, not just in like Izzy and Fern's relationship or Ollie and Amelia's relationship. Like, those are obvious, but like the real strong kind of love and connection between Ion and Zato, the familial love between Javi and Izzy, the real kind of care that Javi has for um, Ollie and Ion as well. There's some moments between them that are like really loving. Like, Harvey is just a really nice ranger, a really nice character who clearly cares quite a lot about all the others, and they obviously care about him with the things he goes through this season. There are substantial arcs here for everyone. It really works doing the sort of connected storytelling. And I've got to say, when it comes to the ground footage, I don't miss the Sentai at all. Like, it feels in some ways a lot like Mighty Morphin Series 3, where most of the fight footage was filmed in the US, because you could have things where, these Western elements were playing part alongside the Rangers. Unmorphed characters. You could have Bulk and Skull running in between scenes of the Rangers and the Putties, and it's similar here. We've got, there's a couple of episodes set on Earth where they team up with Tarek, and Tarek is helping them fight. Now, Tarek doesn't morph, but he's there fighting with the Rangers. So you've got the Rangers versus these new villains versus the new foot soldiers as well, the Sentinels, who look amazing. They look like sort of halfway between sort of Quantrons and Zed Putties. They've got a really nice design. And then, of course, Zedd himself as well, with the forms that he gets. And then you've got Tarek and the Rangers, and then obviously the mix of Rangers, because you've got the Cosmic Fury, you've got Heckle as the Dark Ranger, you've got Billy, Mick, all of them, all kind of together. Now, I don't think there's a single point where all of the Rangers are on screen together. There's always some Rangers missing from the amount of Rangers that are in this series. There's never, like, you never get all 7 of the Cosmic Fury Rangers together. And there's a reason for that. There's a plot reason for that. but it works with what we have. So I'm not hating it. Um, yeah, generally, I just really liked it. I'm very intrigued to see what Power Rangers is going to do next, because what has been announced has been a kind of reboot. Um, but I don't know what they mean by reboot. Like, are we doing Mighty Morphin again? Like, new versions of those same characters? Because that's been done. Like, we did that with the 2017 movie, and as good as it was, there's elements of it that didn't necessarily work. Um, there's, or are we just doing everything we've been doing before, but now completely in the West and divorced of Sentai footage, where the entire concept can be built from the ground up by Hasbro? Because looking at what they've done with both Cosmic Fury and Once and Always, I'm fully on board for that. Like, that would work really well. Cosmic Fury is a great show. Once and Always was a great special, and I think really proved that the concept can work without Sentai footage, without the restrictions of Sentai footage. Because as much as we'd all look at, any of us who are Sentai fans would look at Super Sentai and go, well, you could do this, you could do that, you could use this footage and tinker with this. Like, I've done that with Q Ranger. Like, thinking about how I would do a Q Ranger adaptation. Basically, it'd be Star Wars with superheroes if I was to do it, because that's kind of how it presents itself anyway. But that isn't necessarily what Hasbro want to do, because that's still restrictive. You're still restricted by the footage that exists in the Sentai. You're still having to build your own show around someone else's show. Cosmic Fury doesn't do that. Like, Cosmic Fury is its own show, very definitely. The plot wise, Cosmic Fury doesn't follow any of the real Super Sentai plots. It doesn't follow the plot of Q Ranger. It is something completely different. Excuse me, something completely different, and I think it works amazingly. So I can totally get why they want to do that. And honestly, I'm curious. I'm on board, because I think what they've done over the past few years, Hasbro have shown that they have a care and an understanding for this franchise and what it is, and more importantly, what it means for not just kids, but for adult fans and older fans, people who have been watching Power Rangers for a long time. Like, obviously, I still watch Power Rangers. My kids still watch Power Rangers. My oldest child is 16. He's been watching Power Rangers since he was a kid with me. You know, it's a good show. And modern series like Beast Morphers, Dino Fury, and now Cosmic Fury and Once and Always have shown that there is a real commitment to honoring the legacy while at the same time doing something new. So I'm very intrigued to see how this carries on and how this goes forward. But for now, Cosmic Fury, with Once and Always, works brilliantly as a kind of way of closing off this 30 years of history. Like, if anything, as well, there's some plot elements in this which suggests that Once and Always would actually fit narratively better after Cosmic Fury than before Cosmic Fury. But whichever way they decide to do that, I'm not bothered. I also think as well, if they move production back to America, we've got probably more chance of legacy characters returning, because it being filmed in New Zealand has been one reason why it's been so hard to get legacy characters back. Although there is also a bit of a, I don't know, almost like a bit of a negativity on the part of the production team to use some of the New Zealand actors. And if they do, it's ones that have been in recent series. So people like Kelton Henderson as Mick, or Commander Shaw from Beast Morphers, who does appear in this in a brief cameo. Those are Kiwi actors who are working over there in New Zealand. But it's obviously been restrictive to get some of the American actors back. So taking production back to America or even to Canada would lower the costs there, I think. So there's that possibility as well. But yeah, Cosmic Fury, I think, is very good. I think it's better if you have seen Dino Fury, obviously. If you haven't, though, I do think you will still enjoy it. It does catch you up to the plot elements of Dino Fury in the first episode, the main plot. All you really need to know is Lord Zedd is back, has a new plan, there's a new team of Rangers fighting him. And I think, like I said, the character work here, really, really good. The storytelling, really good. So give it a try. If you were a fan of Power Rangers back in the day, and you're curious to see what the franchise is doing now, there's far worse places to start than Cosmic Fury. It's a good show. So yeah, and it's on Netflix. It's all available. It dropped all at once, and I had a really good time with it, and I think you will too. So give it a look. And here's hoping it wins more awards, especially another GLAAD award, because Izzy and Fern's relationship, which was already a highlight of Dino Fury, very good in this. So yeah, more awards for Power Rangers and more diversity and representation, please. I'm all for that. So yeah, that's my relatively spoiler-free thoughts on Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. I will probably now, when I do release my Power Rangers episode, I'll probably put some spoilers for Cosmic Fury in there, where I discuss it in a bit more detail and sort of, how it impacts the series overall and sort of the things that happen in it. But yeah, I don't think I need to say any more here. Hopefully I've convinced you to watch it. If you haven't seen Power Rangers in a while, if you're maybe curious to what the franchise is doing nowadays, now is the time to look at it, I think. It's probably going to be the only Power Rangers we get for a while. Like I said, the reboot, I think, is currently expected in 2025, and it may be a film that then spins off into a series in a similar way to Mutant Mayhem. But presumably live action rather than animated. So we'll see how it goes. Personally, I'm intrigued. Cosmic Fury has me optimistic. But I'm hoping when they say reboot, they're talking about more of like a behind-the-scenes reboot rather than rebooting Mighty Morphin. I don't necessarily want them to do that. I'd rather just a new Power Rangers series that's sort of devoid of the Sentai, and building its own sort of tokusatsu legacy. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. Either way, until then, thank you for joining me again in another episode. And until next time, you all look after yourselves, take the very best care of yourselves that you can, and I'll speak to you next time.
Thank you, my friends, for once again joining me on Garhdo Goes Geek. Your continued support for this podcast means the absolute world to me, and I am grateful for every single one of you who stays and listens to one of my episodes. It means the absolute world. Now, if you would like to engage more with me or the podcast, we have a Discord community, small but growing, and we now have commissions open on Ko-Fi. So if there's a topic you would like to see me cover, you can pay me to cover it. All funds will be used for legal purchase of the relevant items where I do not have them. Have a look on the link tree for more information. Until next time, look after yourselves.